Hello and good evening. Consignments of vaccines from the Serum Institute have been landing in different cities in the country on the big bang start of the nationwide vaccination drive against COVID-19 on Saturday. We'll get you all the updates on that front on Newsnight tonight. I'm Gautam Roy. We'll also be talking to our guests about how the Supreme Court has emphasized dialogue to resolve the standoff related to the farm reform laws with its decision today. But first, our headlines. The Supreme Court stays the implementation of the amended farm laws until further orders, constitutes a 4-member experts committee to assess the legislations. The top court will hear the petition seeking to bar the proposed farmers' rally in Delhi on Republic Day on Monday. Consignments of the vaccine from the Serum Institute are dispatched to 13 cities including Delhi for the start of the world's biggest vaccination campaign throughout the country from Saturday. The first phase will see 3 crore health care as well as frontline workers being inoculated. The Health Ministry says both Covaxin and Covishield are completely safe, effective and pocket-friendly. And 4 more made-in-India vaccines will also be available for inoculation to all citizens soon. Prime Minister Modi terms dynastic politics as a big challenge for any country, addresses the second National Youth Parliament Festival. The PM urges the youth to become active in the fight against dynastic politics. Army Chief General N. Naravane says status quo remains on the line of actual control with China. The Indian Armed Forces remain ready to face any challenge at the borders. External Affairs Minister Dr S Jaishankar puts across India's perspective at the United Nations Security Council on the global challenge of terrorism, proposes 8-point action plan to counter terrorism on the 20th anniversary of the 1373 resolution adopted in the UNSC after the 9/11 terror attacks. Troubles mount for outgoing US President Donald Trump. House of Representatives set to vote on resolution seeking invocation of the 25th Amendment by Vice President Mike Pence to remove Trump from the Oval Office. Impeachment resolution against Trump to be moved on Wednesday. And the long shadow of injuries extends further over Team India ahead of the 4th and final test at Brisbane. Ravindra Jadeja and Hanuma Vihari ruled out, and doubt hangs over the participation of speed spearhead Bumrah, spin master Ashwin and opener Mayank Agarwal. Well, first up, the Supreme Court has favoured talks to sort out the standoff over the farm reform laws between agitating farmers' bodies and the government. The top court has suspended the amended farm laws and formed a committee of experts which will have 2 months from its first sitting to come up with recommendations related to the laws. The farmers have been asked to engage with the committee to put across their point of view. But for now, the farmers' bodies are adamant on the repeal of the laws. More in this report.
The country's apex court on Tuesday started hearing the petitions challenging the 3 new farm laws and related petitions with regard to farmers' protests on the Delhi borders. A bench headed by Chief Justice S.A. Bobde, after hearing all sides, pronounced the setting up of a 4-member committee to end the stalemate between farmers' unions and the government. The court has appointed Bharatiya Kisan Union's National President B.S. Maan, Shetkari Sangatan's Anil Dhanwant, agricultural economist Ashok Gulati and former director of International Food Policy Research Institute Dr. Pramod Kumar Joshi as members of the committee. This committee will talk to farmers and government representatives and will submit its report to the Supreme Court. The apex court has stayed the implementation of 3 farm laws until further orders. However, the court made it clear that the stay on the new farm laws will not be for an indefinite period.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट और किसान संगठन और भारत सरकार ये आपस में किसानों में विश्वास पैदा करे। जब विश्वास पैदा होगा तो आगे प्रोसीडिंग बहुत अच्छी होगी।
Earlier, Advocate M.L. Sharma, who had filed the petition challenging the farm laws, told the court that the farmers have said that they will not be present before any committee constituted by the court. On this, the apex court rebuked the farmers, saying, "It is concerned about the life and property of affected citizens impacted by protests. We are trying to solve the problem in the best way. One of the powers we have is to suspend the legislation and set up a committee." The court said that this is not politics. There is a difference between politics and judiciary, and you will have to cooperate. We are forming a committee so that we have a clearer picture. We don't want to hear arguments that farmers will not go to the committee. We are looking to solve the problem. If you farmers want to agitate indefinitely, you can do so. Those who truly want a solution can come to the committee. The centre and the Haryana government have welcomed the decision of the Supreme Court. However, farmers are still adamant on the withdrawal of 3 laws and want to continue with their agitation.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट का जो निर्णय है वह सर्वमान्य है और निश्चित रूप से हम इस निर्णय का स्वागत करते हैं और जो ये कमेटी बनी है उस कमेटी के माध्यम से निश्चित रूप से पूरे देश के जो किसान हैं उनकी भी राय ली जाएगी, एक्सपर्ट है जो इस एग्रीकल्चर के अंदर उनकी भी राय होगी।
किसानों को जब ये लगेगा कि हाँ ये हमारे हित में है और उस कमेटी के माध्यम से जो बातचीत होगी और जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट इन बिलों को ठीक समझेगा उस समय या तो एज इट इज नहीं तो कुछ संशोधनों के साथ या इनको समाप्त करने की बात भी कहेंगे तो ये सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ही हाथ में है। अब चूंकि गेंद सुप्रीम कोर्ट के पाले में गई है और इसकी सुनवाई के बाद और मैं समझता हूँ कि निर्णय जो होगा वो सबको स्वीकार्य होगा।
The 4 senior lawyers representing the agitating farmers' unions appeared on Monday in the Supreme Court but were not present during hearing on Tuesday. Meanwhile, the court has asked the centre to file an affidavit on those allegations by Wednesday, which say that agitation is being intruded by Khalistan supporters. Responding to these allegations, Attorney General K.K. Venugopal told the court that agencies have such reports. While Supreme Court will hear the petition of Delhi Police on Monday, which has called for staying the proposed tractor rally that farmers plan on 26 January. However, Chief Justice S.A. Bobde said that Delhi Police has all the rights as to who will enter or not enter Delhi and can do so legally. While the country's top court has made a big gesture by pronouncing a key verdict on ending the stalemate on farm laws, now the ball is in the court of farmers about what is their strategy with regard to continuing with the agitation. With Vikas Sarthi in Delhi, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
That brings up our In Focus tonight. SC emphasizes dialogue to resolve farm laws standoff. That's what our In Focus is. That's right there on the screen. And to talk about it, we're joined tonight by Ashok Kumar Bhattacharjee, Editorial Director, Business Standard. We also have Alok Sinha, former CMD of the FCI, with us. First up, what is your first thought, first impression related to this order that the Supreme Court has passed and the setting up of the committee? A.K. Bhattacharjee, it's up to the farmers now to take up the initiative as far as, dialogue and coming up with any sort of a middle point is concerned.
Well, to begin with, I think the stalemate should be over now because the country's apex court has suggested that dialogue take place in a sense under its overall guidance because the Supreme Court has set up this committee. The committee consists of some eminent agriculture experts and farmers' representatives. Hopefully what this committee decides in consultation with the farmers and talking to the farmers' representatives and what it recommends to the Supreme Court will be in a position to give its final verdict. Remember that Supreme Court has kept the laws in abeyance. So to the extent that the farmers wanted the laws to be repealed, to that extent, for the present, the laws should not be operational. So a stalemate is over. One would expect that the farmers' representatives talk to this committee and find a way out. The farmers cannot continue to take an absolutist position of talking only after the laws are repealed. The country's apex court has intervened. It may have, if the government on its own had kept the laws in abeyance, Probably Supreme Court was wanting that way, but since the government did not move in that direction, Supreme Court a day later has actually acted with a certain toughness, which we welcome, because a stalemate of this nature cannot go on forever. It's also, in a sense, a critical commentary on the way the government negotiators had handled this agitation. Let us hope that this expert committee can find a solution to this tricky problem, whether the laws need to be amended or whether the laws can be left open by way of states' implementation, that the committee will decide. Now the ball is in the court of the committee and the Supreme Court. The government will be as much as a bystander as the farmers.
Okay. Well, Alok Sinha, that's the way it should be in terms of how, at least the agitation is concerned. The farmers' bodies that have been parked outside the limits of the national capital, but for now they are adamant they are still seeking a complete repeal of the laws. Now, why do you think that that is the situation? What could be the reason behind it?
I think first of all, we all have to accept and recognize that the Supreme Court's order is very fair, very ethical. It gives both sides adequate representation on the four-man committee. The president of the Bharatiya Kisan Union himself is there, 2 eminent economists, and since it does seem that the agitation is basically Punjab inspired, it is very fair that the Supreme Court has put the Maharashtra Shetkari Sangathan chief also in it, because after all, the interests and voices and concerns of farmers all over the country have to be heard. Now, having said that, now if the farmers who are agitating on the borders of Delhi say that we will not talk to the committee unless the laws are repealed, and incidentally by them not sending the lawyers to the Supreme Court today, it was very clear that they were scared that they would be asked by the Supreme Court to talk, and they don't want to talk. Further, it does seem undeniable that the agitating Punjab farmers have no solid logical arguments up their sleeves, which is why they have decided, apparently as of now, they have decided to boycott the committee, which would show that their agitation had probably some other agenda. They, by sitting on the borders of Delhi and giving open threats every now and then that we won't talk, annex it to talk, then they are saying that on 26th January in Delhi, which is tantamount to insulting the feelings of the whole country. It does seem that they have no arguments left. They were not willing to be put in a position where they have to argue it out, and therefore they are kind of throwing allegations at the credentials of the 2 economists on the four-man committee.
Yes, we've seen some reports to that effect.
If the Punjab farmers had some other good economist or some other good spokesman in their ranks, they could have very easily told the Supreme Court today, requested the court today to put in there another person, a 5th member of the committee. By not having gone to the Supreme Court and then yet still agitating, and now like a spoiled child saying that we won't get up, we won't talk until the laws are repealed, it is very clear that they have no arguments left. My final point for the moment now is, it is very clear that at least 25 out of the 29 states of the Indian Union have no problem at all with the laws. They think, the large majority of the states do think, that these laws will modernize Indian agriculture, and it is only by modernizing Indian agriculture that the incomes of the farmers will go up. On the other hand, this agitation is inspired only by those farmers of Punjab and some of Haryana who are used to getting an easy deal through the MSP, and whose agitation is being fueled partly by the Aartiyas, because the Aartiyas get 3% commission without doing anything at all.
Okay, let me take this across to A.K. Bhattacharya.
Realize, and for the Punjab farmers, for their own good, unless they modernize, unless they take advantage of these laws, which gives them a choice of going to someone else other than the RTR as well, they will get the best price possible. Finally, I would like to just recall for the benefit of the viewers a statement of the then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh sometime in 2005, saying that the Indian farmer deserves a choice. He should not be in the trap of the middleman, the RTRs. He should have the choice of going over the head of the RTR and going to anyone else who gives a better price. It is not as if the RTRs are being eliminated or the mandis are being abolished. It is just that there is more competition, and modern economics does show that the more competition there is, the more value add there will be. These laws would go a long way in modernizing Indian agriculture, would go a long way in increasing the income of the farmers. However, the MSP-driven rich farmers of Punjab, sitting comfortably there, do feel threatened that if
let me take this across to A.K. Bhattacharjee. A.K. Bhattacharjee, what do you make of this issue that Mr. Sinha has raised, that if the farmers do not, they do not listen to reason, they're not reasonable, they don't come across as wanting to dialogue, it would be construed and perhaps fairly that they have ulterior motives?
Well, once the Supreme Court has taken a decision that an apex, the expert committee consisting of farmers representative union as well as the agricultural experts will be formed, and they've been given the responsibility of having a dialogue with the farmers and come back to the court, I would say, and also along with that, the Supreme Court has kept the laws in abeyance. So that should have given the farmers, the agitating farmers, the confidence of waiting, putting their agitation on hold till the committee comes back. Because frankly speaking, to debate and discuss what the laws are, if they are good or bad, frankly speaking, it is now within the purview of the country's apex court. The country's apex court has taken on board the petitions filed by various aggrieved parties and taken a decision to keep the laws in abeyance and entrust the responsibility of looking into the advisability of laws or amendment to the laws to an expert committee. So I think in all fairness, we should expect, just as we expect the farmers to put on hold their agitation, we all should also expect everybody, both in the government as well as outside, to actually hold their horses and wait till the expert committee comes back with what it feels should be done. Now, frankly speaking, Supreme Court in this case has stepped in because the government did not respond to the earlier suggestion of the Supreme Court to hold the laws in abeyance. So in my view, the government has actually lost an opportunity yesterday by taking the initiative itself. So now it is under the directive of the Supreme Court to hold the laws in abeyance and have these negotiations through an expert committee. So I think the stalemate for the moment should be over because ultimately if the expert committee decides to implement the laws in all the country, or if the expert committee decides that let the states choose to implement the law in whichever state they want. For example, let us say the state VAT was introduced, not initially all the states, but some states were kept out, and after about a few months or a year later, the states joined the state VAT system. So similarly, it's possible, conceivable, that the states are given the freedom to opt for these laws, and when they feel that it is in their interest, they can adopt these laws, but should not stop the other states from not implementing these laws. So I have a feeling that the expert committee will look into this, and now the ball is actually truly in the court of the expert committee.
And yet there is one argument, Alok Sinha, that the court has been not right to intervene and keep these laws in abeyance, because had they found something constitutionally wrong with it, it would be an okay. But other than that, just so that a solution could emerge in a stalemate, laws shouldn't have been kept in abeyance. And they're saying that this could be a ground for later arguments as well if the committee says that these laws are not in the interest of farmers.
Well, in a way, in a theoretical sense, yes. But from the tenor and the language of the Supreme Court's oral directions in the court till now, till the written orders of today, it was clear that they were very concerned that with thousands of people from Punjab sitting on the borders of Delhi and threatening day in and day out that they are going to disrupt life everywhere, especially on 26 January, it was very clear that there was concern all around, everywhere, including the Supreme Court, that it might lead to uncalled for violence and bloodshed. Of course, theoretically speaking, the committee might say that the acts are no good and they should be done away with. But I think this four-man committee with 2 farmer representatives and 2 economists who have spent more than 40 years doing research on this particular matter, I think they will put in very well substantiated arguments in their recommendations, and then it is up to the Supreme Court to see what to do with the recommendations. The fact that the Supreme Court has actually clearly stated the laws means that they, as of now, don't find anything unconstitutional about the laws, but they do want peaceful acceptance of the laws. My final point at the moment would be also, this is not a Kisan agitation. You know, half the Kisans in India don't have land at all. They're landless. They sell their labor. Another 30% have land less than 1 hectare. They consume whatever they grow. It is only the top 10% who are able to sell their rice and wheat in the mandis for an MSP. It is they who are crying out. I'm not saying that their interest should be ignored, but they cannot appropriate to themselves the pretense of representing all the farmers. We should not forget that after all, the wage rates in all the states, including Punjab, have been kept below normal rates, basically because the rich farmers don't want to give them too much of wages. The rich farmers have even made the outrageous demand that when the landless labor works on their farms, they should be paid out of Manrega funds. I mean, it is basically a race to get as much profit as possible. I'm sure everyone needs more profits, including the rich farmers.
But let's see what kind of deliberations the committee has. In the meantime, the Delhi police is still in court to see to it that the rally on the 26th of January does not take place, and we'll have to see what kind of a stand does the court take on that as well. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Till then, A.K. Bhattacharjee as well as Alok Sinha. Okay, now moving on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has paid rich tributes to Swami Vivekananda today on his birth anniversary. He has also said India's politics needs young people to become active in opposing dynastic politics. He made the remarks during his valedictory address at the 2nd National Youth Parliament Festival. Details in this report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Tuesday paid tributes to Swami Vivekananda on his birth anniversary and urged people to follow and share his ideals. Addressing the valedictory function of the 2nd National Youth Parliament Festival through video conferencing, PM Modi said that it was Swamiji who said that the fearless, frank, clean-hearted, courageous and aspirational youth is the foundation on which the future of the nation is built.
विवेकानंद जी कहते थे कि हमारे युवाओं को आगे आकर राष्ट्र का भाग्य विधाता बनना चाहिए। इसलिए ये आपकी जिम्मेदारी है कि भारत के भविष्य का नेतृत्व करें, और आपकी ये जिम्मेदारी देश की राजनीति को लेकर के भी है, क्योंकि राजनीति, पॉलिटिक्स देश में सार्थक बदलाव लाने का एक सशक्त माध्यम है।
The Prime Minister said honesty and performance is becoming the first mandatory condition of today's politics. He added that our politics needs young people and politics is a constructive medium to make positive changes.
ये बात सही है कि अब केवल सरनेम के सहारे चुनाव जीतने वालों के दिन लदने लगे हैं, लेकिन राजनीति में वंशवाद का ये रोग अभी पूरी तरह समाप्त नहीं हुआ है। अभी भी ऐसे लोग हैं जिनका विचार, जिनका आचार, जिनका लक्ष्य सब कुछ अपने परिवार की राजनीति और राजनीति में अपने परिवार को बचाने का ही है। साथियों, ये राजनीतिक वंशवाद लोकतंत्र में एक नए रूप के तानाशाही के साथ ही देश पर अक्षमता का बोझ भी बढ़ा देता है।
Prime Minister also asked the youth to take advantage of the flexibility and innovative learning format provided by the recent National Education Policy. The policy aims to create better individuals by prioritizing aspirations, skills, understanding and choice of the youth.
ये पॉलिसी युवाओं की इच्छा, युवाओं के कौशल, युवाओं की समझ, युवाओं के फैसले को सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता देती है।
PM Modi said, time passed, the country became independent, but we still see Swamiji's influence today. Shailendra Mishra's report, Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Now, over 234,000 youth across the nation have taken part in the National Youth Parliament Festival this year. The day also saw Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank and Minister of State for Youth Affairs Kiren Rijiju addressing the participants of the finals about various prospects of the country's constitution, its democratic practices and how youth can contribute to the nation's progress.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed the valedictory function of the second National Youth Parliament Festival via video conferencing in New Delhi. The day is celebrated on the 12th of January every year to commemorate the birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda. Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla, Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank and Youth Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju were present on the occasion. Speaking on the occasion, the Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla urged the youth to spread the values of the Indian Constitution, parliamentary values, processes and traditions throughout the country.
इस लघु भारत के स्वरूप में हम सबका दायित्व बनता है कि हम किस तरीके से संसदीय परंपराओं, प्रक्रियाओं और मूल्यों को देश के अधिकतम लोगों को पहुंचाने में अपना सक्रिय प्रयास करें।
Addressing the valedictory function, the Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank said that empowerment of the youth is empowerment of the country.
संसदीय एवं संवैधानिक प्रक्रिया में सबसे महत्वपूर्ण अंग किसी भी देश के नागरिक होते हैं और उनमें भी सबसे महत्वपूर्ण वर्ग होता है उसका युवा। युवाओं को अपने संवैधानिक अधिकारों की जिम्मेदारियों के प्रति जागरूक होना प्रजातांत्रिक व्यवस्था में एक अहम भूमिका निभाता है।
Youth Affairs Minister Kiren Rijiju informed that over 234,000 youth across the nation enthusiastically participated in the National Youth Parliament Festival. The festival, held in a hybrid mode for the first time, saw nationwide participation from over 7 lakh youngsters offline and online.
आज पूरे विश्व ने देखा होगा कि भारत का युवा भारत के बारे में क्या सोचता है, क्या विचार रखता है, क्या योजनाएं रखता है, किस नवाचारी ढंग से भारत को विश्व गुरु बनाने के लिए वो कर्तव्य पथ पर अग्रसर है।
मैंने टॉपिक चयन किया था वोकल फॉर लोकल, तो मैं जो इस बारे में सोचती हूँ उस चीज़ को सेंट्रल हॉल में रखूँ, प्रधानमंत्री जी के सामने रखूँ, सारे युवाओं के सामने रखूँ, तो वो मेरा मानना था और पुरस्कार मिला तो ये एक मोटिवेशन मिली कि हम भी इस देश के लिए कुछ कर सकते हैं।
This is not just for me, this is for the entire Northeast region that I represented. So क्या कहना चाहता हूँ कि I'm very thankful to our Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, who has always been very supportive, has been very caring and has always been giving opportunities to youth and also to the northeastern regions.
The objective of the National Youth Parliament Festival is to hear the voices of the youth between 18 and 25 years of age who take part in the democratic process of the country. The National Youth Parliament Festival is based on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's idea expressed in his Mann Ki Baat radio address. Taking inspiration from the idea, the first National Youth Parliament Festival was held from 12th January to 27th February 2019. The second National Youth Parliament Festival was launched on 23rd of December 2020 through the virtual mode. Shailendra Mishra's report, DD India.
National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, on the occasion of the 158th birth anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, took part virtually in an event organized by JNU. He highlighted the vision of Swami Vivekananda towards the nation and citizens. The NSA said that Swamiji always spoke of health and spiritual well-being, apart from education, for strengthening the mantle of the nation.
Swami Vivekananda was able to fathom the real state of India's miserable existence. He told them not only where you are, but also who you are. Like a good instructor of map reading, he wanted the Indians to understand and internalize their position on the map. Let them know their weaknesses, let them know their infirmities, let them know their inhibitions, and also their strengths. So he made them realize both their strengths and their weaknesses. Secondly, he made them realize what was their goal. He tried to give them the confidence and ability to think big. He gave them the goal of a strong, powerful India, free from all shackles. But his most important contribution was his guidance, how to bring about transformation. Like a good instructor, he gave the countrymen very specific guidelines which are particularly relevant to the youth of India like you.
Okay, now consignments of vaccines to stop the coronavirus pandemic in its tracks started arriving at regional distribution hubs in different states today. As come Saturday, the world's biggest inoculation drive is set to begin in India. Nearly 55 lakh doses are being delivered today itself, and all the vaccines will reach their respective destinations by Thursday. Here's more.
And the battle against COVID has reached its decisive phase, with vaccines to neutralize the coronavirus reaching different parts of the country. The COVID-19 vaccination campaign starts across the country from January 16, but delivery of the vaccines started with the first arrivals on Tuesday.
ये अभी फाइनल हिस्टोरिकल मोमेंट आया कि वैक्सीन एक्चुअली रिलीज होके जा रही है हमारी फैक्ट्री से, तो बहुत खुशी का दिन है। और अभी हमारा मेन चैलेंज है कि पूरे देश को, सब लोगों को ये वैक्सीन पहुंचानी है।
The vaccines are being stored in 4 major depots in Karnal, Kolkata, Chennai and Mumbai, where vaccine storage capacities have been ramped up. States have at least one major regional vaccine depot. There are 9 in Uttar Pradesh, 5 in Madhya Pradesh, 4 in Gujarat, 3 in Kerala, 2 in Jammu and Kashmir, Karnataka and Rajasthan. The Health Ministry has asked the states and union territories to make all preparations for the vaccination drive. Initially, 1 crore health workers and 2 crore frontline workers will be vaccinated. The ministry informed that 54,72,000 doses will be delivered by Tuesday. All the vaccines will reach their respective destinations by the 14th of January.
पहली प्राथमिकता में पब्लिक हेल्थ फैसिलिटीज़ और प्राइवेट हेल्थ फैसिलिटीज़ में काम करने वाले हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स हैं, जिनका वैक्सीनेशन 16 तारीख से प्रारंभ होगा। इसमें लगभग 1 करोड़ लोग हैं। उसके बाद फ्रंट लाइन वर्कर्स हैं, उसमें 2 करोड़ लोग हैं। उसके बाद प्रायोरिटाइज्ड एज ग्रुप्स हैं, जिसमें 27 करोड़ लोग हैं, 50 साल से ऊपर वाले और 50 साल से नीचे कोमॉर्बिडिटी वाले लोग।
ये दोनों वैक्सीन सेफेस्ट ऑफ द वैक्सीन्स हैं। इनका अगर आप डेटा देखें, हज़ारों व्यक्तियों में इनको टेस्ट किया गया है, दोनों वैक्सीन्स को कुल मिला के अगर आप देखें तो साइड इफ़ेक्ट्स आर नेग्लिजिबल। और किसी भी जितने भी वैक्सीन्स हैं हमारे, टेटनस टॉक्सॉइड से लेके हेपेटाइटिस तक, तो उनके साथ भी अगर आप कंपेयर करेंगे तो ये उनमें कम से कम साइड इफ़ेक्ट्स वाले, एडवर्स इफ़ेक्ट वाले वैक्सीन हैं।
The first consignment of COVID vaccines arrived in Delhi on Tuesday morning. The batch of Covishield vaccines came from Pune to Delhi in 34 boxes weighing 1,088 kgs. State governments are following all the guidelines to ensure proper storage to distribution mechanisms. Tamil Nadu Health Secretary J. Radhakrishnan said vaccines would be distributed to different locations from Chennai. In Uttar Pradesh too, all preparations are in place. Police are manning the storage centers of the vaccine in the state.
And we got 45 cartons of this Covishield from Pune. It will be redistributed to 10 regional cold chain centers. From the regional cold chain center, it will go to 51 district level walk-in coolers, all maintained with the cold chain. The transportation will be entirely without compromising the cold chain requirement.
प्रत्येक मंडलीय मुख्यालय में जो स्टोरेज पॉइंट्स हैं उनको स्टेट स्टोरेज पॉइंट कहा गया है, तो वहाँ पे व्यापक पुलिस व्यवस्था होगी और वहाँ पूरी लाइटिंग की, वहाँ एक सशस्त्र गार्ड लगाया जाएगा, वहाँ फायर फाइटिंग इक्विपमेंट्स होंगे तथा उसको लगातार मजिस्ट्रेट और हमारे गस्टेड अफसर जो पुलिस के हैं उसके द्वारा चेकिंग कराई जाएगी.
Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said that the situation will become clear in the next few weeks regarding export of the vaccines.
We are sympathetic. Now, a lot of it is the practicality of it. This is a serious issue. I would do my homework and sort of double check it or I actually go from. But I don't think we're looking at too long a period.
Vaccination for COVID-19 has been ongoing for the last 3 weeks in about 50 countries. So far, only about 25 million people have been vaccinated. India aims to vaccinate 300 million people in the next few months. State governments will not bear any cost to vaccinate 3 crore healthcare and frontline workers in the first phase. The expenses are being borne by the centre. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
And that brings up our second In Focus tonight, which is all about the journey of the COVID vaccine that is beginning. And it has begun today itself, and the inoculation drive will start on the 16th, which is Saturday. And to talk about it, we have Dr. J.A. Jayalal with us. He's the National President of the Indian Medical Association. Good evening and welcome to you, Dr. Jayalal. Now, the IMA has issued a statement that it is fully endorsing the 2 vaccine candidates, and it's appealed to all its 3.5 lakh members as well to ensure that they get themselves vaccinated. Now, what more is the IMA doing in terms of ensuring that, you know, the acceptability of the vaccine and there is no hesitancy as far as the vaccines are concerned?
So, as a doctor and as a citizen of this country, I am delighted that we are able to take part in this great mission, and we congratulate the government and the scientists who has found it. And our main concern now is to get rid of the myths which is percolating and showing to the world by taking the vaccine first and showing to that your doctor is taking, so it is a safe and efficacious. The awareness building is our priority concern. And also our entire medical fraternity will be available in all the centers which is established by the government, where we will be provide the manpower and the monitoring service will be also rendered. And we will be with the government and with the public in ensuring that this vaccine is safe, efficacious, and this is a great mission that India is taking. And all of us together can build up and free our country from the corona. And our main concerns will be come out openly in support of this indigenized vaccine, because we were convinced about that safety of this vaccine. So we will go all out to allay the fear and the vaccine hesitancy which is there in the country.
Okay.
We thank the government, we thank the public for doing an excellent job.
And how are you ensuring that the turnout is maximized?
This is only by bringing that we have a network of 1,800 branches. From the center, we have now communicated to all the leaders who are in the nook and corners of this country. So the branch level, which will have the focus areas, probably in each district we have a unit, each taluk we have a unit. So they will take up in front line, and they will be, because they will be more close to the local public. So when the statement is coming from the neutral and the scientific body, and they will have more option for them to believe it and take it community, because we want that this to happen at the welfare of our community and the community, the entire country for the soul.
Well,
so
certainly,
root level we are going to work.
Great, sounds great. All the best to you, and let's hope that the turnout is maximum and the most number of people derive the benefit from this vaccination drive, the first phase being rolled out on Saturday. Now, moving on, External Affairs Minister Dr S Jaishankar on Tuesday hit out at countries aiding and abetting terrorism and providing terrorists financial assistance and safe havens. The External Affairs Minister was speaking at a United Nations Security Council open debate, which centered on the topic threats to international peace and security caused by terrorist acts. The External Affairs Minister proposed an 8-point action plan at the UNSC to address the menace of terrorism as well.
For the UN system to credibly address the menace of terrorism and ensure effective action,
I would like to propose 8 points that could, in a way, be an action plan. We must all summon the political will to unhesitatingly combat terrorism. There must be no ifs and buts in this fight. Nor should we allow terrorism to be justified or terrorists glorified. All member states must fulfill their obligations enshrined in international counter-terrorism instruments and conventions. We must not countenance double standards in this battle. Terrorists are terrorists. There is no good or bad distinction. Those who propagate this only have an agenda, and those who cover up for them are just as culpable.
As part of the proposed plan, the External Affairs Minister asked for an objective process for listing and delisting of individuals and entities under the UN sanctions and put forward the need for decoupling it from political or religious considerations.
We must firmly discourage exclusivist thinking that divides the world and harms our social fabric. Such approaches facilitate radicalization and recruitment by breeding fear, mistrust, and hatred among different communities. Enlisting and delisting individuals and entities under the UN sanctions regime must be done objectively, not for political or religious considerations. Proposals in this regard merit due examination before circulation.
And the External Affairs Minister also drew attention of the UNSC to the linkages between terrorism and transnational organized crime and asked for it to be addressed vigorously.
Linkages between terrorism and transnational organized crime must be fully recognized and addressed vigorously. We, in India, have seen the crime syndicate responsible for the 1993 Mumbai bomb blast not just given state protection, but actually enjoying five-star hospitality. Combating terrorist financing will only be as effective as the weakest jurisdiction. The Financial Action Task Force, FATF, should continue to identify and remedy weaknesses in anti-money laundering, and counter-terror can make a big difference.
And in international news, US President Donald Trump is no stranger to being under fire, and there are no indications that he will quit just days before his term ends. The Democrats have put both him and Vice President Mike Pence on notice. They want Pence to either invoke the 25th Amendment to yank Trump out of the Oval Office if he doesn't resign, or they plan to move an impeachment motion against the incumbent to oust him even before President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration, which is turning out to be a tense event in itself. Take a look.
It was a source of confusion and merriment on Monday when the US State Department's website erroneously ended the terms of outgoing President Donald Trump and Vice President Mike Pence early, but quickly fixed the problem. But some also saw it as a portent to how the situation is building up on Capitol Hill. The Democrats are giving one more day to Trump to resign and leave the White House just days before his term ends, or face an unprecedented second impeachment over his supporters' deadly January 6th assault on the US Capitol. The Democratic-led House of Representatives plans to vote as soon as Wednesday on formal charges of misconduct known as articles of impeachment, unless Trump resigns or Vice President Mike Pence moves to oust him under a provision in the US Constitution. The House is also set to vote on a resolution on Tuesday calling on Pence to invoke within a day the 25th Amendment, a never-before-used law that allows a majority of the cabinet to strip the president of power if he or she is unable to discharge the office's duties. But Pence is unlikely to do that, as he met Trump in the Oval Office on Monday and agreed to work together till the end of their terms. At the same time, Republican Congressman Tom Reed said he will join other lawmakers on Tuesday to introduce a resolution censuring President Donald Trump over the US Capitol riots by his supporters, but he did not favor impeachment. He also said in a New York Times op-ed piece that he would work to find ways for Congress to bar Trump from seeking federal office in the future. Meanwhile, Trump has approved an emergency declaration for Washington that lasts through the 24th of January, after authorities warned of security threats to President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration on the 20th. Biden told reporters while getting his second vaccine shot in Delaware that he's not overly concerned about the threats, but wants to see those who caused the riots in Washington be brought to book.
I'm not afraid of taking the oath outside, and we've been getting briefed, but I think it's critically important that there be a real serious focus on holding those folks who engage in sedition and threaten people's lives, deface public property, cause great damage, that they be held accountable. And I think that's a view that is held by the vast majority of Democrats and Republicans in the Congress.
Tourists have been barred from visiting the Washington Monument as well, due to the threats, as Monday saw the National Guard being authorized to send up to 15,000 troops. The FBI has warned that armed protests are being planned in the US Capitol and the 50 US state capitals ahead of the 20th of January inauguration. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Well, it's late Tuesday morning right now in Washington, D.C., and it'll be a good thing to find out what's happening there as far as Capitol Hill is concerned. And Nick Harper's with us with the latest on that. Nick, what can you tell us? A very critical 2 days, really, for Donald Trump. Not just Donald Trump, really, but for the Democrats, the Republicans, and America in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's start with the proceedings on Capitol Hill. We have the House Democrats pushing ahead with a vote which will take place in the coming hours, in which they plan to vote on a resolution which would see Mike Pence invoking the 25th Amendment. That's where he would immediately remove Donald Trump from office and stand in his place. Mike Pence would have 24 hours to achieve that. But the thinking is that Mike Pence won't agree to that. He won't want to remove his boss. And therefore, on Wednesday, in a day's time from now, the House will then vote on something else, and that will be the article of impeachment. Democrats have drawn this up for inciting insurrection, trying to make Donald Trump just the first president in US history to be impeached twice. They will be voting on that on Wednesday, and the expectation is that that will pass. The Democrats hold the majority in the House, and according to some reports, as many as several dozen Republicans will also join to vote for his impeachment, and that means that it would then pass to the Senate for a trial, but it's unclear exactly when that trial would take place. Donald Trump has been speaking about all of this in the last hour. He's made his first public comments on the plans to impeach him. He said that it was absolutely ridiculous and a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in political history. He also warned that even though he didn't want to see any violence on the streets of the United States, he said that the impeachment plans were causing tremendous anger. He justified his comments ahead of those riots last Wednesday that the Democrats said incited the violence. He said that his comments were totally appropriate, so not accepting any personal responsibility for what then ensued in the US Capitol.
Well, I wonder if another gag order might come really as far as social media platforms are concerned for Donald Trump. But, you know, as far as impeachment is concerned, realistically speaking, is there time to really put that through, or is it just a bit to heap all the more ignominy on Donald Trump, or as if any more was possible?
Well, undoubtedly, when that vote takes place on Wednesday in the House of Representatives, it's exactly 1 week until Joe Biden is due to be sworn into office. So there's only 7 more days of Donald Trump's term in office. But the Democrats are saying that if it doesn't get done in those 7 days, the Senate trial, and it's unlikely to happen within that stretch of time, they would consider potentially holding the trial once Donald Trump has left office and once Joe Biden is the president. Now, that would mean that the Democrats would then hold the majority in the Senate. They would need 2/3 of the 100 senators to agree to find Donald Trump guilty in order to find him guilty of those impeachment charges. However, Democrats say that it's crucial to do that, even though it would be taking place after Donald Trump had left office, because if he were found guilty of that charge, he would never be able to hold public office again. And that, of course, would scupper any potential plans for him to run as president again in 4 years' time in 2024.
Okay, then that would indeed serve a pretty vital purpose as far as the long run of things is concerned. We'll have to wait and see what happens next. Thanks a lot for the moment, Nick Harper. Okay, we'll keep you posted on that whatever happens as far as the House of Representatives in the US in Washington DC is concerned. But moving on, Army Chief General Naravane has said Pakistan and China together form a potent threat for India. However, addressing the annual press conference, General Naravane said India is ready to meet any eventuality and the operational preparedness is of a very high order.
Army Chief General Naravane said that the Indian Army has increased vigilance not only in Ladakh but also on the entire LAC, and the Army is fully prepared to thwart any nefarious design of the enemy. The Army Chief said that the 8th round of Corps Commander level talks has been held. Now the 9th round of talks is awaited. He expressed hope to find a solution to the LAC dispute through dialogue.
And I'm sure that through dialogue and discussion, we will be able to reach an amicable solution based on the principle of mutual and equal security. As I said, we are ready to meet any eventuality. All the logistics aspects have been very well taken care of, whether it is clothing, ration, habitat. There is no cause for concern at all on that front.
The Army Chief said that last year 80 to 85% of arms and ammunition were procured from local industries under Atmanirbhar Bharat. He also said that the Army Jawans are being provided distinct quality equipments that they need and their morale is very high.
More than 80 to 85% of the contracts which have been signed are with our own Indian companies as part of our efforts to indigenize and in keeping with the Honorable Prime Minister's call for Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have also got the necessary budgetary support to keep pace for our modernization plans. We had sponsored a study through the Army Training Command to look into what all niche technologies we need to transform ourselves into this technology-enabled force.
The Army Chief said that Pakistan continues to embrace terrorism and is using it as an instrument of state policy. He also said that India has zero tolerance for cross-border terrorism and reserves the right to respond with precision. General Naravane said this is a clear message that has been sent across. Sudhir Yadav's report, DD India, Delhi.
Back home, after inquiring about the condition of Union Minister Shripad Yesso Naik at the Goa Medical College, Raksha Mantri Rajnath Singh said that the PM himself called him up and expressed concern over the incident and told him to go to Goa. He said that he had a word with doctors and Shripad Naik's condition is stable now. The minister had an accident, a serious accident yesterday while travelling from Uttarakhand, and he lost his wife and private assistant in that accident as well. And now it's time to get you some more updates from nationwide.
Amid a surge in bird flu cases, the central government has requested the states to implement the scientific approach and do not get panic. Union Animal Husbandry Minister Giriraj Singh said that there is no risk to humans if animal or poultry products are boiled or cooked properly before consumption. In Madhya Pradesh's Morena district, 12 people have died after consuming poisonous liquor. State Chief Minister Shivraj Singh Chauhan has ordered an investigation into the matter. A team formed by Gwalior Commissioner is investigating the case. Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Lal Khattar launched the one-time registration portal for Group C and D category posts and non-gazetted teaching posts in different government departments. Registration on the portal has commenced from Tuesday and will continue till 31st March. Delhi High Court directed the Election Commission to decide on the question of representation within the political parties raised in a PIL. The PIL sought a direction to the Election Commission to formulate norms of democracy within the political parties. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister E. Palanisamy has permitted schools to reopen across the state for class 10th and 12th students from 19th January 2021. Each class will have only up to 25 students and the schools have been ordered to follow the standard operating procedures issued by the state government. In Patna, party workers clashed during the Congress party's Kisan Morcha meeting. Chairs were also thrown by them at each other as the ruckus continued.
Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways and MSME Nitin Gadkari launched an innovative new paint developed by Khadi and Village Industries Commission in New Delhi. The eco-friendly, non-toxic paint called Khadi Prakritik Paint is a first of its kind product with antifungal, antibacterial properties. Based on cow dung as its main ingredient, the paint is cost-effective and odorless and has been certified by Bureau of Indian Standards. Speaking on the occasion, Nitin Gadkari said that the government aims to increase rural trade to 5 lakh crore rupees in the next 5 years, and for this, he called upon the people to use more and more products that are used in the villages.
5 साल में विलेज इंडस्ट्री को 5 लाख करोड़ को बनाना है। 3 लेबोरेटरी है देश की सबसे स्टैंडर्ड, ये डिस्टेम्पर और इमल्शन 2 प्रकार के होते हैं। नेशनल टेस्ट हाउस मुंबई, श्रीराम इंस्टीट्यूट फॉर इंडस्ट्रियल रिसर्च न्यू दिल्ली, नेशनल टेस्ट हाउस गाजियाबाद। अब इसमें काऊ डंग है, इमल्शन में और डिस्टेम्पर में टिटेनियम डाइऑक्साइड है, कैल्शियम कार्बोनेट ने चूना है और लिंसीड ऑयल रेजिन इमल्शन में है, फिर एक्रिलिक बाइंडर दोनों में है और प्रिजर्वेटिव है, और इसमें गाय का गोबर है। अब ये जो बना हुआ पेंट है ये स्टैंडर्ड्स में ISI के और इसके जो स्टैंडर्ड्स है इसमें मार्केट में इमल्शन और डिस्टेम्पर में मार्केट में अवेलेबल सबसे अच्छे ब्रांड के पेंट से अच्छा है।
The committee to review guidelines on TV rating agencies in India, constituted by the INB Ministry on the 4th of November last year, has completed its work within the 2-month time frame. The committee's report was presented to INB Minister Prakash Javadekar earlier today. CEO Prasar Bharati in a tweet said he is thankful to fellow committee members Dr. R.K. Upadhyay, Director CDOT, Professor Shalabh, IIT Kanpur, and Professor Pulak Ghosh of IIM Bengaluru for their valuable inputs and contribution in putting together the report. Also on behalf of the committee, he said that he'd like to thank all of the stakeholders, IBF, ISA, AAAI and the community of news broadcasters, platforms, measurement firms and BARC India for their valuable feedback during the consultations by the committee. Now, a team of WHO experts will land directly in Wuhan on Thursday, China's Foreign Ministry said on Tuesday, starting their long-delayed probe into COVID-19 at the virus epicenter. The 10 scientists will investigate the origins of the new virus in a mission that comes more than a year after the pandemic began. The World Health Organization team will leave from Singapore and fly straight to Wuhan, the central city, where the first cluster of cases was detected in December 2019. Now, Indonesia has recovered the flight data recorder from a Sriwijaya airplane that crashed into the Java Sea 3 days ago. The flight data recorder arrived at a port in Jakarta on Tuesday evening and was shown to the media. At the news conference, military chief said he was highly confident that the cockpit voice recorder would be found soon. Indonesia's National Transportation Safety Committee expects to be able to read the information on the recorder in 2 to 5 days. Cannes' famed festival palace, as usual star-studded venue during the prestigious film festival, has been transformed into a vaccination centre in France's bid to advance its inoculation drive. Open on Saturday, the centre conducts vaccinations for health workers and those aged above 50 and older, and for those who are younger but who have comorbidity factors. The centre could give the shot to around 100 people a day. Last year, as France faced its first national lockdown, the festival's 2020 edition in its usual format was cancelled. And that's all we have for the moment in this edition of Newsnight. But for all the latest, do stay tuned to DD India and above all, stay safe. Mask up.